So walk us through, like, let's pick back up on that timeline, how it picked up steam and when you really started to feel the momentum and things started to click for you.
Liz and I were still trying to keep things separate on the investment side and the list side. She'd throw me some listings here and there, but she still wanted to flip houses.
Let's talk about your challenges there. Like, be specific, because there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this that are probably taking the same approach. And something I struggled with big time was a good friend of mine started in here in Roanoke in investing the same time I did. He's just not, he's a different person. I'd spent my whole career negotiating price up. Like, I was like, let's get you in a luxury beachfront condo. Oh, and do you want, this? And so I was always, to me, negotiation was an upward thing, where in investing, it was downward. And it just wasn't like, just wholesaling was not my thing. He's really good at it, and he's built a team, and they're doing,
Yeah.
150 deals a year now in a small market. But what we tried for I'm going to say no less than 300 leads. His acquisition manager would go on the appointment, make an offer. If they flinched or didn't take the offer, then he would refer it to me.
Yep.
I made it a point. The second I got the text message, I clicked it and called. Like, I was literally calling before he left. He was backing out the driveway, and I was on the phone.
Perfect.
And then I tried letting it go 30 minutes, letting it go one day. Out of 300 opportunities, I never listed a single property referral from that strategy. And it was because Mike was offering a very one-sided offer. We buy houses, we close fast, and we're not bullshitting. And they're not. They do it. But what happened is, when they only had one thing to offer, and that one thing wasn't valuable, or it was perceived as predatory, then I got his reputation. So it didn't matter what I said on the phone. I was the same. I had the same reputation that the acquisition manager had. And what we found is you have to kind of identify in the conversation. You have to know, right? Or you either have to offer all the options, or you have to back up in the conversation and see where that split is. Like, is there equity? Is there motivation? And depending on those answers, you decide: do we go in a brokerage route, or are we going the investment route? And if you're not doing that, if you're doing it at the appointment, then you damn well better be able to offer all those options yourself. And I think that's probably what you guys found, right?
That's what we found, exactly, because we actually send two guys to an appointment, one that stays as the good guy and one as the investor.
Yeah.
And it works. And it's a good training option as well, so we could train our guys to offer. So we offer the full listing price at whatever percentage, just cash out, so they can list as a discount listing if they're going to go below market. We're not going to do a regular listing on someone that wants a discount listing fee too. Yeah. And or then we'll make a cash offer that is within reason what they're asking for, if we could buy it. So it's three options, and we're not trying to be the ambulance chaser or predatory on it. This is what we offer as a company, and it's going to solve your problem.
Sure. And the transparency, that transparency results in ultimate trust. Like, yes. You start to build rapport on the phone, but when you show up and you've got, like, I use it, and you guys hear me talk about this, you can search it. If you go to alltheleads.com and search seller net sheet in the top right, you'll find a copy of this. But we have a net sheet. It's just a simple spreadsheet I made when I figured this out. And I would run those three scenarios just like David's talking about. So it would be, if I knew I was listing it and they just weren't motivated enough to sell at a discount, it would be something like low, recommended high. If I'm going to offer options, it might be, cash, as is, where is, and retail, kind of like David just said. But you give them those three scenarios and let them self-select, so they don't flinch like they do. And if you just throw out a wholesale number, they're like, holy shit, you're trying to steal the place. What are you, a crook? Yeah. But if you show them the retail number, and then, like, they disqualify themselves because they don't want to spend the money or spend the time. If they're not willing to take that risk and someone else is, then that's off the table for them. And you just kind of walk them down. I bought every house I've ever bought that way, by telling them exactly what I was going to do with it. I'm like, I'm going to turn around and flip this for another $20,000. And you should know that. And there's actually disclaimers in my paperwork. Like, I'm doing this with the sole intent to make a profit. Here's what I think I'm going to make on this, because I never wanted sued. If I ever got sued, I was just going to hand that to the judge and be like, don't tell me I didn't disclose it. That's and right. The amount of trust that comes along with that, it's hard for anyone to compete with you. If you're doing business like this, guys, it's hard as hell for anyone else to compete. Like, because you're showing them, you're like, listen, we're going to focus
Nobody
on,
else is.
yeah,
And the one thing that we do also on top of that layer is we leave them a cash offer in hand. So nobody else leaves, they always give verbal offers.
yeah.
So if that's the one thing people take away from this video is always leave a handwritten offer. And we always put at the very top, all closing costs paid, no realtor fees, everything paid except for the back taxes. But the taxes are usually paid through the probate estate, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and man, there's so many nuggets in this already. Like, never ever go on an appointment without pre-filled paperwork.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know what you're going to do, take a listing agreement and have it all pre-filled based on the tax card. You can always scribble it out in initial changes if you have to, if
That's the
something
best,
doesn't
even
match.
if the number's real big.
Yeah, and the same thing. Like, take a purchase agreement that's filled out for that specific property. Take a listing agreement, and for me, that goes in the left-hand side of the folder, and whichever one I think is most likely to be the outcome, I'll put on top. So it either says purchase and sale agreement or exclusive right to represent seller agreement, and that folder gets opened up and slid over in front of the decision maker during the face-to-face appointment. And I mean, David's heard this in Mastery. I play a game. I've never had to ask anyone to do business in probate. Like, they either pull the paperwork out or they say, okay, well, where do we sign to get started?
Right.
And that's when I know my job's done. But never go on an appointment ever without your paperwork done. And my goal is less than 1 hour, one stop listing or acquisition, and see the seller at the closing table. And that's how all but 2 of my deals have gone. One was a very elderly couple, and they didn't trust my vendors, so I had to go back with the vendors and pay them, and then they paid me back. The other was a condo that had been heavily smoked in, and then we had to go back and do smoke remediation. Otherwise, every probate deal I ever did, I was one stop appointment, and then I saw the seller at the closing table. And that having paperwork allowed me to do that because I was nimble, right? It's a very fluid situation. You're like, here's your problem, here's a solution, here's problem, solution, sign this piece of paper. And
Right.
they select which one they're going to sign. I don't push them into it. I never try to have a predetermined outcome for myself. I'm like, I can help no matter what. I'll show up, you tell me how we work together. I don't care how we work together, just that we work together.
That's right. That's it. But we actually do 3 folders, not all in one folder. So we have a just cash out company, and then a property solutions company, which is the cash offer, and then a listing from Cities Real Estate. So it's actually.
Are you doing that? That's under 3 different brands?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not confused, and we get to separate that we're, we don't want to be like we're going after their equity. I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
I have to make $25,000 profit, and this is what it's going to take to make this money on this house. And a lot of those times, those net sheets on the seller sheets are only about 8 to 10% difference.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go through the hassle to make $8,000 typically.
The other thing I find that's really common when you have a lot of heirs, like when you have more than, I'll just say kind of based on experience, when there's more than 3 people that are recipients of the proceeds, that seems to be the mark where they're like, screw it, just get it done. Because they're going to get $3,000, $4,000, $8,000, and they're like, "What? It's not going to be life changing for me. If you like him, just hire him, let him do it, or just sell it to him." So the more heirs you have, the more, I guess, the less price sensitive people are.
And this all boils down to the number one secret in real estate: when they trust you, we call it when they offer that bottle of water in a listing appointment. You've crossed that bridge of trust.
Yeah, that's a good trick too.
I always tell